Hey everyone, welcome to Provider Spotlight. This is a series by Meddkit where we interview really amazing providers that have really great and unique stories. There is a reason why they started this business, why they are trying to help people. So today we have a very awesome guest. Dr. Alvord has been a chiropractor in Eden Prairie, Minnesota for almost 30 years. He is a diplomate in chiropractic philosophy, and there are less than 100 doctors in the world with that degree. He is one of the few chiropractors in the world to exclusively practice specific chiropractic. There is a very important reason for this. He never wanted to be a jack of all trades, but a master in one thing. In a sick world that thinks more is better, that the same world only gets sicker. His continuing passion is to change all of that one spine at a time, one life at a time, for a lifetime. Please welcome Dr. Alvord to Provider Spotlight. Thanks for joining us.
Hello.
Yes, I am excited for you to answer all our burning questions. And just based off on how we hit it off before, I think we're going to have an awesome time today. So tell us your story. What inspired you?
My mother worked for a chiropractor when I was a kid. So my first introduction was being a little kid. And I remember after she started working there for about, I don't know, a couple of weeks or so, she came home and she said, "You boys need to get checked." I'm the oldest of three boys. And I remember at 9 years old thinking, there's nothing wrong with me. Why do I need to go to a chiropractor? And that was the introduction to me just thinking differently, because most people think they don't have a problem till they're hurting. And usually something's been set in motion for a long time by then. So that was just my introduction to that. And then I ended up going to chiropractic school and I had the luxury of really seeing life from a different perspective, health from a different perspective, how people made health decisions from an early age versus trying to figure that out later on when we think we have the world figured out. But to get that set in when I was really young, so I could really start to understand some things early in life.
That's amazing. Good on them to get you started young and to have that experience, and exposed at such a young age that this is something for me. This is something that is out there that I can do. So I love those stories. I think it's awesome, especially, when it started at such a young age, and that just really appealed to the young person in you and saying, light bulb, you know. So based on your bio, there's a lot of things that you do and you do very differently that definitely not a lot of other chiropractors do. So tell us about your approach. How is it different?
Okay, so but before you can do anything different, you have to think different. And we kind of forget that step. Most people, when they start in the office, they're just coming in almost like an amoeba where they're just trying to find the 16th way to feel better. And we're taking a step back and going, well, why do you feel that in the first place? And by the way, dead people can't feel any of the things that you're feeling. So it takes a living, intelligent person to actually strategize with a condition you've got. It's keeping you alive. We like to say you'll have your condition as long as you need it. So it repositions, it redefines the whole thing. Instead of the condition or the pain being the problem, the problem, as I love to say, the problem isn't you, it's the absence of you. And when you start showing up, things start going away. So if we had a dark room and we wanted light in here, should we bring in a vacuum cleaner and pump out all the blackness? Right? Everybody laughs, right? But what do? We turn on the lights. And when we do that, as it turns out, dark is just a placeholder for the absence of something. So disease is just a placeholder for the absence of function, you see? And as we remove interference to people and allow more of them to come in, that darkness, that dysfunction, that disease or that state that's maybe making them feel uncomfortable starts to go away without ever or just an indicator, right? And the irony is, if I always tell people, if you took your car to the auto mechanic and they disconnected your oil light, you'd call the Better Business Bureau. Yeah, if we go to a therapist who just treats the symptom without getting to the cause of it, we thank them. Because the sad thing is we understand our car more than we understand our bodies. And the real thing of the matter is we get one of these chassis, but we can have as many cars as we want. So we can screw up that car and just go to the next car. But we use better logic with that one car we just have in the lot right now.
So how many?
So it's kind of,
Go ahead.
yeah. No, I mean, so that gives you a taste of how we think differently, because the goal isn't to feel better, and the goal isn't even to function better. The goal is to remove interference to the source of your function, the intelligence that brought you from two cells to you, right? How do you do that? You know, if somebody's an atheist or not, it doesn't really matter. You could go, well, the lights are on in this person and the lights are off in this person because this one's cold and they're a corpse, right? But whatever's in this person where the lights are on, okay, we can have more of that if there's interference, right? So that's really our goal, is just to allow your body to function better. There's an old chiropractor. The only thing that knows for sure what to do with any liver, much less any organ or cell in your body, is the intelligence that brought you from two cells to a liver.
And Dr.
It's the Gardner dilemma.
Would you just repeat that? You just had cut out just ever so slightly.
Oh, so there's a saying, a kind of old saying that says, who is the liver doctor to tell you what to do with your liver? The liver doctor doesn't even know what to do with their own liver. The only thing that knows for sure what to do with any liver, much less any organ in the body, is the intelligence that brought you from two cells to a liver. And I call it the Gardner dilemma. How do you make an oak tree? You can't. The only shot you got is finding an acorn and taking care of the acorn. Because where does the oak tree come from? It doesn't come from the gardener, it comes from the acorn. So people walk in with this acorn inside them. And our only concern is to make sure that acorn is able to grow as good as it can. And if it's been stagnant and been interfered with and maybe not got enough expression to become that oak tree like it should be, that's our job. That's our job.
How many times do you tell people that and their minds are like, they get it?
It can feel like a fire hose. Our orientation can feel like a fire hose. Quite honestly, I could say one of these things and I could be on to two or three others, and people are still processing that first one. So I do have to try to slow down. And then what we try to do, our art of it is actually trying to say the same thing a number of different ways and a number of different times. We have an atrium where I have 8 tables where people just get on the table. And there are people I've been with, let's say, a decade, and I could be 3 people over, and I'm telling them some aspect of care or a question they have. And I get to that person that's 3 people over who's been with me for that long. And they're all excited, and all of a sudden they go, oh my gosh, I finally understood that concept when I heard you tell somebody else that. But they've been under care the whole time, and they finally understood that certain aspect. But a lot of that goes to our childhood. If we're a certain way, in a very nearsighted way, without stepping back and really understanding the dynamic of something, it can feel like a fire hose. And because we don't necessarily realize we're wearing glasses, okay? We're looking through a lens, but our philosophy is what we look through. So if we grow up thinking the problem is a condition, the problem is a symptom, we're only going to be looking for treatments for those things versus taking this off and going, maybe the problem isn't my pain. Maybe the problem isn't the condition I have. Maybe the problem is the interference to my body that's not allowing me to work the way I'm designed. You know, the chiropractic definition of normal, the way I say it is, because you can step back, well, what is normal then? What is health? The healthy should be normal, right? The chiropractic definition of health is simply you without interference, to adapt as optimally as you can to your internal and external environment. Now, here's where I get tongue in cheek, but the medical definition of normal, and this is partially, this is not completely off here. The medical definition of normal is the average of 2 people, and you're not one of them. So what happens in medicine all the time is they show you these graphs with these beautiful lines, and they go, you need to be on the line to be healthy. Well, what if you're above or below it? I mean, there's an average. There's a range of health in there. But they say you need to be on this number, and they get in trouble from trying to pull people up or down into this number, right? Because their normal is an average of a bunch of people, and very few people are that average.
It's amazing, you know, you'll probably answer this extremely well because all these you've one after another debunked a lot of things that are common perception. But what what about having your own practice and being able to educate people the way you know that they need to be educated is the most rewarding? What do you
So,
love about this?
well, so by design, for example, we don't take insurance.
Mm-hmm.
We're not part of some system. I'm not beholden to anybody else other than the person walking in the door. I always tell people this is our relationship. You trust me, and I trust the intelligence running you. That's our relationship. Now, if anything else could get in the way with that, that will actually hinder that relationship and ultimately really just hinder you because that's why you're here, is to be your best. So if I was taking insurance, that's a model that's all about treatment for conditions. So guess what? They'd be happy to give you 6 visits for that headache, and they'd be happy to cover it again the next time you get a headache next month. That's not healthcare. So if we really come up with something affordable and regular for lifetime care, it allows them to get all the care they need to get to a place where they're functioning their best. And then let's say the headaches go away, but they can continue care on some level to be their best, and they got a good chance of not having that headache again, right? Looking the bigger picture of healthcare again, not disease care, because insurance care is disease care.
Yeah.
And again, I don't want to take away from it because crisis care can save your life in a crisis, but it will never make you healthy. Here's how you want to look at medicine. Medicine is the fire department. Who doesn't want a fire department in their neighborhood?
Yeah.
Everybody wants a fire department. Now, if the fire department's always at your house, how's your house looking? Because they have 2 tools. They have axes and fire hoses, drugs and surgery. So which thing actually makes you healthy? Technically, neither one, but both of those can save your life in a crisis. So the fire department can save your house, right? If it's on fire, I want the fire department. But once the fire's out, here's what society does. They keep calling the fire department back to try to make their house better again, and it will never get better. So medicine's great for crisis care. They can keep you alive, but they can't even guarantee that. But if you got a shot, if you got blood spurting out of your aorta, you're going to want somebody to tie that up, right? So medicine's great for that, but medicine will never make you healthy. And that's actually a radical statement in this society, unfortunately, but it's the absolute truth.
I love it. I mean, everything that you say make, the analogies. I'm sure people that are watching it, are like, oh my gosh, they'll think about this. It's one of those things that you kind of think about forever and be like, oh, I had this interview and sat down with Dr. Alvord and told him about, the firehouse in our neighborhood and then associating it with health. It's one of those things that it's kind of hard to really forget. So I love that you putting that in people's minds because that is very real. They can really attach themselves to that situation and make a realization about, a field and get to understand what that really means for them. So thank you for doing it. I think that's awesome. Is there?
And by design, the
Yeah.
reason why we use analogies is because, people, whether they're religious or not,
Mm-hmm.
the Bible is full of analogies, and that's not an accident. It's because we think in stories and we think in truths that we already know. So all we're really doing here is saying, listen, this isn't some new patented truth that we're using. We're just recognizing the truths you already have in your life and going, let's start taking the logic you walked in the door with and just apply it to your body. For some reason, that stops at our skin, though. So if the same logic that we use with a car or computer or our garden, okay, if we just applied that to our body, we'd instantly be healthier because we'd be thinking healthier
No,
instead of patching.
I think it's fabulous. I think everything that you're saying is one with great energy and it definitely, I think people watching here are like, oh yes, like someone telling the truth and being controversial. And that's not a lot of what people hear a lot. So I think it's great that you've come on with a different perspective and through your training has come to these realizations. And with that training, is there something that you do or you see a lot of your clients and something, a tip that you give to people here right now, if they could do something like every day or do something once a week or do something this year that will set their health in a better trajectory, what do you think one or a couple of those things might be for people here listening?
Yeah, this is this time of year, isn't it?
It
You
is.
know,
People are thinking about
and
it.
yeah, so the first thing people need to do is think different. And what I mean by that is they need to just stop and think about, why am I even alive? There's something working inside me that nobody even understands, but they know it's there. Whether the scientist or the priest or whatever, the rabbi, doesn't matter. There's something going on here that's this great mystery. The brain's processing 3 trillion bits a second. So the reason why I say that is because if we start to realize this majesty going on, this intelligence that's innately in our body, we will start to respect it more and we will make decisions differently. So instead of saying, does Kool-Aid belong in my body or does water belong in my body, right? Or Big Macs or broccoli? Because you go, okay, well, I'm designed for something that's natural versus unnatural. So if we start filtering everything just through that, first of all, we will already be able to make better choices with things.
Yeah.
I tell people, for example, if they love a particular junk food, just go look up the research related to that. That junk food will instantly taste worse, you
Yep.
know? And so, somebody who's like a gum fanatic with lots of artificial sweeteners or something, I go, just go look up some studies on artificial sweeteners and how it hijacks your brain. And I guarantee they will do it less. Another tip is that it's really hard to change in the sense of giving up things. Because if you tell people to change, the first thing they think is, oh my gosh, I'm gonna have to give up my donuts. So
Yep.
then I say this, keep eating your donuts, right? But do something, consume something healthy before that. If somebody likes to drink soda, right? And they like to have, let's say, 4 cans of soda a day, I'll say this, before you have each can of soda, make yourself drink a full glass of water and you will end up drinking a soda, right?
Yep.
So the overarch there is add healthy things, add healthy habits on top of the exact same unhealthy habits that we know, or everybody already knows the answers to these. But if they add something first, their body will start moving towards health better. And actually their stress will tend to come down. And then they'll actually maybe in the next month have a better ability to let go of some things that they're addicted to, that instead of just taking things away with right away. So add things first and then start to address potentially letting go of things that we shouldn't have later.
No, I love that. Definitely thinking about things differently, questioning things. I heard, without you saying it, question some things. Question what you're doing. Question, not even making the decision in a way, but just take a step back and just question it. And I love that, putting a healthy thing in front of maybe a habit thing, maybe a not so great, eat that donut, but if you do something else, drink that water before you drink the soda, to try to over time change how you're eating or how you're doing that one unhealthy thing. I think that's awesome. And it's an easy way for someone to implement. And that's easy for someone to say yes to that. I'm not saying cut it out, but I'm saying try it different and then see what happens. Just see what happens. And I think that's a lot
And
an easier pill to swallow.
yeah, now even if they don't change the thing, and they can just get into a chiropractor's office who will clear that nerve interference so they function better. When
Yeah.
people function better, their adaptability increases, which means their stress comes down and they are more dynamic in their abilities to deal with change, including improving their lifestyle. So even if just people passively start getting on chiropractic tables and just getting clear and letting their body start to build itself better, there's some internal research in our profession that shows when people start getting chiropractic care without even thinking about it, 2 or 3 months later, they're ready to let go of smoking. Because their body, that's not an accident, their nervous system becomes more dynamic, they're able to handle change better and able to handle the stress related to change better. So they can even just start with that.
That's amazing. I really, and I think everyone here listening appreciates everything that you have taught us today. And for the people that would either like to come and visit you or know more, is there any way to, contact you? Website, social media? Where can folks find you?
Well, my website's kind of interesting because I don't like anything cookie cutter. So my entire website was every word on there was from me. I have a bunch of articles on there. They're all done by me. I like what I have to say. I can defend what I say. So that's very tailored. They're not going to see anything cookie cutter there. Every word has been written by me. So that's at creationchiropractic.com. But probably the best way, just aside from calling us, would be to literally just email us, info@creationchiropractic.com. And either myself or my assistant, Vicky, very on a timely fashion, get a conversation going on. Either to answer some question we could do directly by email, or if they need a referral for somebody on the other side of the state or the country, we'd be happy to do that. It can be hard to find a good chiropractor. And what I mean by that is that a good chiropractor, ready?
Yes.
Here's the secret. Practices chiropractic. The problem is there's so much money to be made out there, and they dabble in all these other things that the chance of actually getting good chiropractic care actually start to go down. So if you know what a good electrician is? Somebody who does electrical work. But if the electrician's doing plumbing and roofing, right, and siding your house, what are the chances they're going to be a good electrician? That's the jack of all trades. So that's what's going on out there. 70%, here's an industry number, 70% of all chiropractic services in a chiropractic offices are for non-chiropractic charges. So when most of the revenue coming in is for something that's just a side thing of chiropractic, chiropractic actually sadly gets lost in the shuffle. The saddest thing in this office is starting somebody who's been to chiropractors for 20 years, and we gave them their first adjustment.
Wow.
But they've been getting all kinds of treatments and things and natural therapies, and nobody even talked about the intelligence in their body, much less allowing it to function better with a specific chiropractic adjustment.
That's incredible. Well, I'm sure the people here would love to reach out. Thank you for giving us that information. And thank you for sharing your why and being with us today, being here with us today. It meant a lot.
I really appreciate the opportunity too.
Thank you so much, and hope to have you on very, very soon again.
Okay, sounds great.
Thanks.